Oh hey, didn't see you there. I just got back from the gym with Demos. We did a full body workout and it was all pause reps. Now I'm here to tell you today that if you want to get strong, if you want to get explosive, if you want to lift heavy and get legitimate, raw strength, you need to be doing pause reps.
Hey Mark, what's a pause rep?
Pause reps are the opposite of ballistic or plyometric training. It's basically any exercise with a start and finish, and you pause and you stop all movement at some point within your range of motion. And what this pause does is it gets rid of the stretch reflex within your muscles. You can think of the stretch reflex as this. Your muscles are like an elastic band. So as you lengthen the muscle, it has elastic properties that want to contract again soon after lengthening. And what this elasticity does is it makes it easier for you to execute reps when you take advantage and utilize that elastic energy. So I'm going to show you some clips now of various exercises and at different points at which you can pause. And at each point that you pause has a different role in what it'll do for you, how hard it makes to exercise, and what your goals are. Okay, so here we are at the gym, and first I wanted to show you guys my favorite movement, the squat. As you can see here, I like to pause at the very bottom. You could call this position 0, because I want to be strong coming out of the hole. However, at the bottom when I pause, certain muscles turn off, for example the glutes. So if you want to keep time under tension high, pause just before the bottom. So as you can see here, I'll be executing a double pause, one at the very bottom and one about midway. This increases time under tension and makes the movement harder because it stops momentum that was built up during the beginning part of the movement. Here is a regular pause squat, and the pause is located after the bottom, midway through the concentric portion of the movement. This version is a lot easier because you're able to use the stretch reflex to get you out of the hole. So here is a regular squat, touch and go, and as you can see there's a bit of a bounce at the bottom. This is the lengthening of the glutes, quads, and hamstrings, creating the stretch reflex with their elasticity. The concentric portion of this movement is a lot easier and faster, but I don't have as good of a mind-to-muscle connection, and I'm not working my muscles as hard as I want to be. Here is the deadlift with the pause at the bottom of the exercise. This prevents the stretch reflex as well as prevents the weights from bouncing off of the floor, making it easier to pull the weight back up again. Here's the deadlift again, and the pause this time is just after the beginning of the concentric part of the movement. If you want to make the deadlift even harder, you can pause on the way down just before hitting the floor and then standing back up again from there. This puts the body under tension throughout the entire movement, essentially giving you no rest. As you'll see here, I'll be bouncing the weight off the floor and taking advantage of the stretch reflex, making the movement faster and easier, but less effective. Similar to the squat, it's the glutes, hamstrings, and quads that are lengthening and then contracting quickly to create the stretch reflex. Here I'll be demonstrating the bent over barbell row with pause reps. As you can see here, I'm pausing at the end of the eccentric part of the movement to prevent the stretch reflex. Here I'm pausing midway on the concentric part of the movement, stopping momentum from building up, thus making it harder to move the weight. Now I'm demonstrating what the pause looks like midway through the eccentric portion of the movement. This is easier because we are stronger eccentrically than concentrically, but will still increase time under tension. This here is the bent over row touch and go. As you can see here, the lengthening of the lats, the scapular retractors, the rear delts, and the elbow flexors are creating the stretch reflex. Similar to the bent over row, I demonstrate pause rep pull-ups at the end of the eccentric portion, midway through the concentric portion, midway through the eccentric portion, and touch and go. Here I'll quickly demonstrate pause reps for bench press at the end of the eccentric portion. Here is the pause midway on the concentric portion of the movement, and then here is the pause midway on the eccentric portion of the movement. Here I demonstrate the bench press using touch and go. You can see the bar basically bounce off of my chest, but I would even argue that this is a fairly controlled touch and go bench press. I've definitely seen a lot worse in the gym. The lengthening of the pecs, triceps, and anterior delt are what cause the stretch reflex in this exercise.
That was so easy. I wasn't even doing any work. Literally, I was just like bounce.
Yeah.
But like,
I was
not
really
good.
So now that you've seen the different points at which you could pause during your exercises, Let's get into length of the pause. As you saw in the videos, my pause is not that long. It's probably like half a second really, but it's all you need. My main goal is to just get rid of the stretch reflex so that I'm only using my pure raw strength to move the weight. I know guys that like to pause for 1 second, I know guys that like to pause for 3, 5, some even 10. And as you get into longer and longer pause times, you begin to start training for endurance. For some people, maybe you like the really long pause because it makes sure that you're only using your strength, and those who compete, they want to make sure that they're never taking advantage of the stretch reflex. But for regular gym goers or people who just love to work out, you don't need that long. It will make it harder, you will get even stronger, but a really long pause doesn't have to be included in your regimen. And if you extend to even longer pause times, you can begin to train postural strength. So for example, if you bottom out in a squat and you hold that position for let's say 15 to 20 seconds, you begin to use the spinal erector muscles, a lot of your upper back and shoulder muscles, just a lot of muscles in the core and almost full body you could argue, to keep yourself in that position. And the strength that you gain from doing this type of training will help you become stronger in one of the weakest positions of the movements. Anyways, moving forward, you gotta be smart about lifting. A good amount of people use touch and go when working out, which is completely fine. You are taking advantage of the stretch reflex, but a lot of people will literally bounce the weight off the ground or off their chest or whatever the case may be, which is straight up dangerous. It could facilitate bad form, which could mess up your body in the long run, creating imbalances. And in my opinion, it's like kind of cheating. Okay, so now we're gonna move into how pause reps affect your parameters. So say that you do squat and you're doing touch and go and you're doing 3 sets of 10, for example, at 200 pounds. And you do that for months and you're slowly building up and you get to 250. When you introduce pause reps, you'll likely have to lower the weight to hit the same reps and sets as you did with touch and go. And this is because it's straight up harder to do pause reps. There's no stretch reflex to get you out of the hole easily. Time under tension is increased, therefore challenging your endurance. And since each rep is physically harder to move, you'll begin to fatigue earlier on in the set. And if you're wondering if it'll affect your explosiveness and real life performance, my personal answer is no. I became way stronger and way more explosive because I was doing pause reps. I had my one friend say to me he's gonna back off of pause reps for a little bit just because he doesn't want to lose the ability, for example, when he's jumping, to go from the bottom position to the top really fast, that really fast transition. And I said, sure, you can do whatever you want, but I don't think I've ever lost that ability to be able to move quickly or jump really high, or my agility's been lost just because I've been doing pause reps. But if you're still not convinced and you want to try out pause reps, then do a bit of both. Do some exercises as pause reps and some others as touch and go. A way that you can slowly incorporate pause reps into your workout routine is to do pause reps for your main lifts: squat, bench, rows, deadlift. And I'm assuming that you should be doing all those exercises because you really should. Good for you. Functional. Just saying. But start out with that and see how you like it. I could argue that you can do pause reps for pretty much any exercise, whether it's a big primary compound movement or even an isolation exercise. So you could have workouts that are all pause reps. So for example, a powerlifting style type workout could be squat, bench, rows, and then a bunch of accessories. So pull-ups, dips, curls, abs, whatever. You could do pause reps for that entire workout. Now, am I saying should you do pause reps for every single exercise you do? Maybe not, especially if you're lifting pretty heavy on all of those exercises, including the accessories, just because it does put a bigger strain on your central nervous system, and it's just straight up harder. Like sometimes you don't want to pause, you want to just like keep going, get a pump on, or whatever the case may be. But when I work out, pretty much I would say 99% of all the exercises I ever do are all pause. But that's just because I like it, and I'm used to it now because I've been doing it for like years. But start out small, introduce a little bit first, and see if you like it. So just some other benefits of pause reps. It almost forces you to have good form throughout the entire movement. For example, bench press, probably the easiest one to exemplify here. When you start the lift, you're in a locked out position, everything's tight, your shoulders are retracted, arms locked out. You come down to the bottom, pause on your chest, and you have to hold that position so everything is staying tight. If you break form at the bottom of the bench press, it's gonna be way harder to push that weight up from that bad position. In order to execute that pause movement successfully, you have to stay tight and have good form throughout the entirety of the movement. So I have this one friend back at Western, his name is Ryan. He was on the cheer team, he's a few years younger than me. And he was a powerlifter too, so he was doing squat, bench, rows, deadlift all the time. He was a very strong guy. And he asked me, Mark, how can I get stronger throughout these movements? And I said, yo, why not try pause reps? And I began to explain to him all the benefits. And he said, yeah, sure, why not, I'll try it out. Then I graduated. I came back to visit like a year later, and he's like, yo, Mark, pause reps are insane, like strength has gone up. And he even mentioned too, he's like, yeah, my form is way better too. I was like, dope! Like it actually worked, and he actually listened to me, like it was really cool. So that's just like my evidence as to why it works, if you're not already convinced. Another benefit that I found is that I get more bang for my buck for each rep that I do. So when you do touch and go, a lot of the times the stretch reflex is a huge factor in if you can get that weight up or not. As you saw in the clip from before, my set of bench press touch and go, I was like hardly using my chest or arms. It was literally just bouncing off my chest. I was taking full advantage of the stretch reflex. And by the end of it, I got up and I was like, hey, I don't feel my chest or my tris engaged throughout the movement, or they don't have a pump right now. Pause reps will make you rely on your literal raw strength that you can produce by yourself in order to get that weight up. You can kind of think of it similar to bicep curls. When you see people swinging around to get the weight up, they're basically just using the momentum that they're creating from their torso and their hips to get the weight up because it's too heavy for them. But if you were to slow down and pause, even at the top too if you wanted to, and then the bottom, you are relying solely on the force that your muscle can produce to get that weight up. So if you want to know my experience with pause reps, I was introduced to pause reps sometime in my 3rd year. I want to say the beginning of my 3rd year. And at the time my program was squat, bench, row every single day, and then do a legs push pull accessory afterwards. And I would basically alternate between 4 sets of 6, 4 sets of 8, 3 sets of 10 on each of the main 3 lifts, squat, bench, rows. And when I introduced pause reps, I think I had to lower the weight on each of them by at least, I want to say 20 to 25 pounds. So I was reducing the weight, but my workouts got harder. And my gains like skyrocketed. I think I was plateauing at the time too. And soon after introducing pause reps, I went back to those same numbers that I had plateaued at with touch and go. And I think I was up like 2 to 3 reps above what I could do before. And I have not stopped since. I use it today on basically all of my lifts. And I just like it more than touch and go. Cheer became easier because I was straight up stronger, so it's easier to lift, throw, and catch the girls. And that was also my biggest in terms of my physique. But anyway, that's like my spiel. I literally love pause reps and would advocate them to anybody. Moving on. Pause reps will do wonders for your gains, better form, better strength, better endurance. Literally just like, I can't think of a single bad thing about pause reps. But try it out for yourself and tell me what you think. Or if you've been doing pause reps or recently introduced it to your program, tell me the results that you guys are getting, because I found them phenomenal. I haven't heard of a single person that hasn't benefited from pause reps, but it'd be interesting to hear. So I think that's all I can really say about that. Like I literally get excited when I talk about working out and fitness and stuff. I'm such a dork. I hope that helped you. I hope you learned something. If you didn't, I hope that refreshed your memory on pause reps. Hope you guys get inspired to go to the gym and try something new, increase the intensity of your workout, and I will catch you guys next time.